I don't like you. I don't like who you don't like, and I don't like who you like. That means I'm not a likable person.
Sammy Marquez Benson, aka Blac Youngsta, born April 8, 1990. Blac Youngsta's career was built on chaos. The Memphis rapper rose to fame not because he was the best lyricist or had timeless albums, but because he was wild, hilarious, and unpredictable. He went viral waving stacks of cash, mocking his ops, and dancing with pistols in hand, all while representing Yo Gotti's CMG as its loudest, most animated soldier. But under the surface of the comedy and controversy was a very real street war between Gotti's camp and another Memphis heavyweight, Young Dolph. For years, Blac Youngsta thrived in that tension, becoming a lightning rod in the beef. Diss records, near shootouts, and threats surrounded him, giving his persona a raw edge and constant relevance. But then the unthinkable happened. In November 2021, Young Dolph was gunned down in broad daylight. Suddenly, the war was over, and with it, the energy that fueled Youngsta's career. Rather than pivot, Blac Youngsta doubled down, even performing a Dolph diss track days after the murder. The moment backfired. What once was seen as savage loyalty now came off as tasteless. The industry began to look the other way, and even CMG started focusing elsewhere, elevating artists like Moneybagg Yo, Glorilla, and ESTG, while Blac Youngsta faded into the background. His last notable release came in 2022, and even that fell under the radar. Without the ongoing beef or new musical direction, Youngsta became a relic of a past era, trapped in a persona that no longer worked. At least not for his image, and we all know the name of today's game: attention is everything. This is the dilemma of Blac Youngsta, an artist who burned bright during the chaos but never evolved beyond it. His charisma and energy made him a fan favorite, but without the structure or growth, those same traits became liabilities. And when the one feud that kept his name in rotation ended in tragedy, so did the last traces of his buzz. Now, as CMG reshapes its identity and Memphis rap continues to evolve, Blac Youngsta's name is rarely mentioned among the new wave. Did Dolph's death kill his career, or did it merely expose how little there was to hold on to once the smoke cleared? Losing a rival was celebrated. Who knew the joke would be on him? What happened? Let's talk about it. Salute to Finesse Dixon on IG for this request. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. Blac Youngsta is a rapper and songwriter from Memphis, Tennessee, known for his viral energy, comedic persona, and street-oriented rap style. Born Sammy Benson, he gained attention early in his city through mixtapes like Fast Bricks and Heavy, eventually catching the attention of Yo Gotti, who signed him to CMG in 2015. His breakout single, Heavy, built momentum, but it was tracks like Beat It and Hip Hopper featuring Lil Yachty that helped him cross into national recognition. Youngsta became a social media sensation, wielding outrageous charisma in interviews and Instagram videos that often overshadowed his music. Despite that, he released 2 albums, 223 and Church on Sunday, with moderate success. However, his reputation was heavily tied to real-life drama, particularly his involvement in the long-running beef between CMG and Young Dolph, including a high-profile shooting case he was eventually cleared in. By 2020, Youngsta's buzz was loud, but largely built on instability. Stunt number 1, viral before musical. Blac Youngsta's rise to fame was more meme than music. While he did put in work on the mixtape circuit and had a few standout singles, it was his outrageous social media antics that truly launched him into the spotlight. He became a caricature of the modern street rapper, flashing stacks of cash, yelling in interviews, and acting out in ways that entertained more than they impressed. The problem was, his music couldn't match the energy of his persona. Tracks like Booty and Hip Hopper were catchy, but lacked depth or staying power needed to build a lasting catalog. As a result, Youngsta became pigeonholed as a quote, funny rapper, not a real threat in hip-hop, but an internet entertainer, a meme. He leaned so heavily into the clownish side of his brand that when he tried to be serious or reflective, it didn't hit. His persona also overshadowed his talent. While he had charisma, delivery, and a gritty tone that worked well in Memphis street rap, he rarely showed artistic growth or attempted to evolve. More importantly, the game around him started to change. New acts like Moneybagg Yo and 42 Dugg, both CMG signees, entered the spotlight with sharper, more focused music, and Youngsta found himself stuck in a persona that had run its course. His viral clips got fewer views, his songs charted lower, and without a clear sound or message beyond chaos, fans began to move on. Being entertaining made Blac Youngsta famous, but never growing as an artist made him replaceable. And when rap shifted from gimmicks to streaming era consistency, Youngsta had no foundation to stand on. He was famous for being famous, but fame, especially in rap, is a moving target, and he was no longer hitting it. Stunt number 2, Dolph's death ended the war and his buzz. Blac Youngsta's most defining career moment didn't come from an album release, hit single, or award. It came from being a frontline figure in the very public and deadly CMG vs. PRE beef. His role as Yo Gotti's loudest enforcer made him a villain to Young Dolph's fan base and a symbol of loyalty to CMG supporters. He wasn't just a rapper anymore, he was part of a real-life drama that kept his name circulating through blogs, social media, and the streets. It gave him a dangerous mystique and a reason to be watched. But in November 2021, that narrative collapsed when Young Dolph was shot and killed in Memphis. The impact on the city was immense, and for Youngsta, it marked the end of a story that had fueled his career. Rather than lay low or shift his image, he infamously performed Shake Some, a known Dolph diss days after the killing. The backlash was swift. What once read as bold and fearless now looked distasteful and tone-deaf. Dolph's death created a line in the sand, and Youngsta stood on the wrong side of it. With Young Dolph gone, there was no more rivalry to fuel the attention. The very beef that gave Youngsta meaning now left him exposed. Fans weren't checking for new music. CMG had moved on, investing heavily in younger, more marketable acts. And without the spotlight that Dolph's presence indirectly gave him, Youngsta's limitations became clear. In the absence of conflict, he had no direction. The gimmicks weren't landing, the music wasn't charting, and the streets, once entertained by the back and forth, were grieving and uninterested in more disrespect. Dolph's death didn't just close a chapter, it shut the book on a version of Blac Youngsta that no longer had a place in today's Memphis or mainstream hip-hop. Stunt number 3, CMG left him behind. Blac Youngsta was once one of CMG's most visible artists, standing shoulder to shoulder with Yo Gotti and stealing attention with his larger-than-life persona. But as the label evolved, so did its priorities, and Youngsta didn't evolve with them. In the years after signing artists like Moneybagg Yo, 42 Dugg, ESTG, and Glorilla, CMG's identity shifted toward polished, commercially viable talent. These artists brought not just street appeal, but consistent chart presence, streaming numbers, and broader fan bases. In comparison, Youngsta's music began to feel stagnant, and his acts started to wear thin. What hurt even more was how visibly CMG's machine pushed others ahead of him. Gotti's Instagram no longer hyped Youngsta's releases. The collaborative momentum that once existed was gone, and without major label energy behind him, Youngsta's drops became quieter, his videos got fewer views, and his relevance started to fade. To make matters worse, he didn't reinvent himself. While other artists matured their sound or adapted to the new streaming era, Youngsta clung to the same blueprint: flashy visuals, strip club anthems, and loud gimmicks. It was the same formula that once worked but no longer moved the needle. He wasn't versatile enough to break out on his own, and without CMG's backing, he lacked the infrastructure to maintain momentum. In a label now known for hitmakers, Youngsta became the outlier, not because he lacked talent, but because he stopped growing. By 2023, CMG was thriving, but he was barely mentioned. His once promising position had vanished, and his place in the industry was unclear. Being Yo Gotti's right-hand hype man had its moment, but when the label matured and the beef cooled off, Blac Youngsta was left with the same question his critics had asked for years: what does he really offer beyond the noise? All in all, Blac Youngsta's story serves as a case study in what happens when persona outpaces progression. He entered the game like a storm, loud, raw, and unfiltered, and that energy made him a star in the blog era. But without musical growth or a solid foundation, it also made his buzz unsustainable. His connection to Yo Gotti and CMG gave him a major platform, but his place on that roster was never about lyrical excellence or hit-making consistency. It was about being the chaos agent, the unpredictable figure tied to one of Memphis's biggest beefs. When Young Dolph was tragically murdered, that chaos reached an unnatural halt. The beef that had kept Youngsta in the headlines disappeared, and rather than evolve, he doubled down on disrespect. That choice turned many fans away. At the same time, CMG rebranded with new, more commercially viable faces, and Youngsta was quietly left behind. He's not talentless, he's not forgotten, but in a game that requires constant reinvention, Blac Youngsta failed to grow beyond the moments that first made him. Today his voice is quieter, his presence dimmer, and his place in Memphis rap far less secure than it once was. Whether he bounces back is now fully on him. Salute, much respect, but for these reasons, his growth was stunning. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music, and I'm out.